Welcome to the Brave Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Lynn, founder of Sistership Circle and author of Open Your Heart and The Art of Leading Circle. I'm the mother of 2 girls, an 8 on the Enneagram, aka the Challenger, happily married to my business partner, Brent, love connecting with nature, and have put in well over 10,000 hours circling with other women. On this podcast, we will explore how to embody the brave woman so that you can take action on your dreams and desires, unapologetically speak your truth, and live life on your own terms. Grab a seat and a cup of tea, and let's get started. Last week, we talked about the sister wound. And at the root of our sister wound is our mother wound. At the root of our split with the feminine is our mother wound. What we learned about the feminine from our mothers. It is really important when we go into this conversation that we come from a place of no longer blaming our mothers for this. Now, you may be someone who is no longer speaking to your mother, has a really deep hurt and maybe even an anger towards your mother. And I don't want to take anything away from that. But what we must understand is that our mothers didn't know any better. Now you might say, no, but Tanya, our mothers didn't know any better. They were doing the best they could with what they knew, with what they inherited from their mothers, and what they inherited from their mothers. And it goes all the way down the line. This is patriarchal conditioning. And the only way for us to break the line is to have the awareness of this conditioning, to understand the impact that it has had on our lineage, and to then untangle, dismantle the belief systems within ourselves. So, for the sake of this conversation, let's let mom off the hook. And in doing so, this is part of the way that we then help her to take her hook out of you. Because I know for many women, that's how it feels. Mom still got her hooks in me. She still puts me down. She still has her little remarks. She still thinks that I'm not good enough. We have to release the hooks and do our own work here. Because the truth of the matter is, mom's not going to change. Mom's going to continue to be her. The healing starts with me. I have to do the work, because when I do the work, when I reset my nervous system, when I become a calm body, a not triggered and reactive body, the bodies around me also calm. The bodies around me also settle. I shift the dynamic with mom when I start to unhook her from me. You have the power. In a way, she's powerless. in a way, because she has no awareness of her patterns, there's nothing really that she can do. You have the power. You have the responsibility because you're the next in line. You draw the line in the sands now, not her. So just breathing into that, noticing what you're feeling within your body right now, noticing where you're feeling the tension, or even it's a knot, it's a coiling, it's a clenching, a squeezing. Can we release that hook? Can we release and let go and soften that tension? This is the work. There's a softening that we must have within ourselves. The softening within our own hearts, within our own solar plexus, and within our own bellies. A lot of what we're holding around mother wound is in our bellies. This is where a lot of that tension lies. The belly, the solar plexus, the heart. And so if you could just start to gently rub your heart space in a circle, rub your solar plexus, and rub your belly. This is where the work starts. You have to remother yourself. You have to settle your own nervous system. You have to self-regulate. You have to meet your own needs. You have to connect in with yourself and give yourself the love that you wanted from your mother and let her go. And so coming into this conversation, this idea of remothering ourselves, we must go into our needs and desires. Needs and desires. That's what we learned from mom. We learned that our needs didn't matter and that our desires didn't matter. That's what mother taught us. The human mother. That was the conditioning from patriarchy for centuries, is that a man is first, a man's needs are more important, a man's desires are more important. Mother is a self-sacrificing martyr. She must be selfless. She must give herself to her husband, to her family, to her community, and she gets the crumbs. The conditioning is so deep. It is so deep because deep down we were taught that we didn't matter. A man is more important. A woman is second. A woman is less than. In fact, she comes from Adam's rib. That story in and of itself has taken away the power of our womb, the power of our creative life force that sits within us. Osho said that woman is more powerful. Why? Because we have the ability to birth. We have the creative force within ourselves. Men don't have that. So why on earth have we been believing that men are more important, that men are better, that men's needs are more important? Because the patriarchy doesn't want you to believe that you're powerful. The patriarchy wants to take away your sacred sex, your sacred womb. 80% of births these days are cesarean. Now, there's nothing wrong if you had a cesarean, but think about that. Your initiation into motherhood through the birthing process is incomplete. The power that you feel when a baby is coming out of your vagina, that initiation is like none other. Now, there are women who are listening to this, and sister, if this is you, you haven't had children, there is nothing wrong. In fact, that's part of the conditioning. So stick with me here. The conditioning is you are worthless in this society if you do not have children. You do not matter. You are less than. You still have the creative force within you. So, this is not about whether or not you have had children. It is about you taking back your choice, your desire. If you do not desire to have children, you don't have to. It's your sovereign body and your choice. And that has been taken away from women. Your body is your husband's. They own you. And so, this is the path. If you want to be a contribution to society, then you need to be a mother. But then, as a mother, you're going to give yourself up. You're going to continue to give yourself up to your children, to your husband. And so when we can actually tune into this conditioning, this double standard, this catch-22, can we maybe have a little bit of empathy and compassion for our mothers? They were doing the best they can. They didn't know. Even the feminists of the 60s, 70s were all about anti-men or becoming a man, of we need equal rights, so we need to go in the workforce, versus like a really deep connection with the feminine. A lot of the feminist movement was still the split with the feminine. So when we're talking about this split with the feminine, we're talking about the split with the great mother and the cosmic womb. And I've heard over and over again in our circles, I just don't like this whole womb thing. I don't want to have this conversation about the womb. Well, where the hell did we all come from? Adam's rib? So there is this concept of the cosmic womb in which all of creation came from. We could call this the Big Bang if you want to. This cosmic womb is that center place of darkness, of mystery, the fertile void in which life then comes through. And our wombs within our bodies are a microcosm of the cosmic womb. How powerful are we that we have this ability to birth? And again, it's not about you having children. It's about the fact that you have this fertile void within your body that can birth anything. The cosmic womb can birth a world. You can birth ideas, dreams, desires, children, a new world, a new earth. So you can see here that the more that we're disconnected from the womb within ourselves and the cosmic womb outside of ourselves, or that basically birthed us all, that birthed this beautiful existence, this beautiful earth that we live on, by reconnecting with this, we can then start to tap into our desires. If I have this power within me to birth, what do I want to birth? And there we have desire. What do I want to birth? That is my birthright as a woman. I have the choice. I have the desire. And if I have the desire, how does pleasure fit into this whole conversation? Well, I desire what feels good for me. And I am the one with a clitoris, with 80,000 nerve endings? Way more than a penis. My pleasure matters. But what do we see within the mother wound of the self-sacrificing martyr? Is she connected with her pleasure? Is she connected with her sex? No, she's having patriarchal sex. What is patriarchal sex? Well, it's not about your needs and desires as a woman. It's not about your pleasure. It's about a man's. And we're just going to keep feeding into that with pornography. When we as women reclaim our pleasure, reclaim our desires, reclaim our sexuality, then we can start showing up differently in the bedroom. We can shift from patriarchal sex to epic, cosmic, feminine, ecstatic sex. And this is why the enchantress is hidden from our view, is not one of our three main archetypes that we hear of. Because the enchantress is very much connected with her pleasure, the magic of her pleasure. I went to India, I went to the Khajuraho temples, and they show these temples with all these images of people having sex, because what they understood is that sex was the connection with the divine. We don't really have that here in the Western culture. We don't really get that sexuality is our divinity, is our connection with spirit, with the cosmos. This is hidden from most women's view because most women can't even have an orgasm. Most women are not connected with their Amrita. Amrita is, we can call this squirting in our culture, but essentially when you orgasm and you release this beautiful fluid that in ancient times was revered as most sacred, that this was truly the nectar of life the nectar of a woman. Did our mothers know any of this? No. I remember growing up and watching my mom take care of the house, do all the things. I didn't see her getting massages. I didn't see her connected with her pleasure. She was happy being a mother. She saw her purpose as a mother. And I respect that. There's nothing wrong. My mom did an amazing job raising me, and I'm so grateful. But there was a little bit of sacrifice, and maybe that was conscious or unconscious. And she gave up her work. She was a nurse. My mom was a nurse, and she no longer wanted to be a nurse because she wanted to be a mother. And she saw that as her work. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's still a sacrifice there. Most mothers that I talk to are not having sex with their husbands, are not even having date nights. That feels like something that's just not accessible. They sacrifice their pleasure. What would happen if we saw that our needs mattered? So let's go back to this wound, the split. The great mother provides for all of our needs. If you look out the window at the earth, you can see abundance. Nature is abundant. Mother Earth is abundant. All of your needs can be provided for. Let that sink in for a minute. All of your needs can be provided for. All of them. And yet, if our mothers were disconnected from that, there might have been a competition for needs. Mother and child now have a competition for needs. It could be exhausting as a mother. And so if we're not resourced, we're not sourced by the great mother, and we're giving, and giving some more, we're burned out, we're exhausted. That was our mothers. That was me. So as a child, we have two main needs: significance and belonging. We need to know that we belong in the family unit, that we are unconditionally loved and accepted for exactly who we are. Did you receive that growing up? Belonging. We have a need to feel like we matter, that we came to this earth for a purpose, that we have the right to take up space, that we can be a contribution, that we're a significant contributing member of the family. Did you feel like that? So most of us grew up wondering if we were really loved, wondering if we really mattered, thinking that something was inherently wrong with us. And a double whammy if we were a girl. Because not only was there maybe something wrong with us, but now because I'm a girl, there's definitely something wrong with us because I should have been a boy. So we grow up split from the great mother who will provide all of our needs, who is this all loving, this unconditionally loving and accepting energy. And we were raised, most likely, not feeling loved. And if you had a mother who perhaps didn't want to have a child, you were a mistake, you were um, you were brought into the world where your parents were struggling to make ends meet, and so now it felt like even more of a sacrifice having this child, that you were somehow taking away from what they, like, their survival. If you came into this world thinking that you were a mistake or thinking that you weren't wanted as you were coming through that birth canal, then you really did not feel like your needs mattered. What you wanted did not matter, because you were brought into this world, that first breath of air, potentially feeling like a burden. Now, this isn't everyone, right? Because some of us, our mothers very much wanted to have a baby. But then perhaps you were smothered. Perhaps you were controlled. Perhaps she had such a tight grip on you. And she wanted you to be a certain image in her mind, the perfect angel. And so she put a lot of pressure on you to show up and act a certain way. And so there always felt like this pressure that you can never live up to mom's expectations, that no matter what you do wasn't good enough. And then there was the merging mother who, her whole life, you were her whole life, and she just wanted to overgive to you. And so there was this merging happening, this codependency, and who am I? So we either had mothers who were trying to live vicariously through us and have what they didn't have and projected that onto us, or were cursing us for coming into existence because you were making her life more challenging. And so you were split, disconnected with that unconditionally, all accepting, loving energy that the great mother holds. So healing the mother wound starts with remothering ourselves and connecting with this great mother energy. So what does that look like? So in remothering ourselves, we have to learn that our needs matter, that we can ask for what we need, that we can set healthy boundaries to give ourselves the time and space that we need, to reclaim our desires, to self-soothe, and to accept all parts of ourselves, even the ugly bits. And a big part of remothering is to allow ourselves to feel. Women are feeling beings. And if you're listening to this, most likely you're an empath. Most likely you feel a lot. But if that felt like it was too much emotion, too much crying, too crazy, too overwhelming for your mother, you shut those feelings down. You thought that they weren't good. You can't have a tantrum. You can't cry. You can't feel. Keep it all under wraps. Tone it down. Don't be too much. Don't take up so much space. We are disconnected from our feelings, from the expression of our feelings. And that limits us from being our vibrant, full self-expression. So we must allow ourselves to feel. And as we feel, to self-soothe, to be able to connect in with our bodies, to be able to connect with our emotions, to inhabit this body. Think about this. Mother Earth is matter, right? There's spirit and matter. We can say Father Sky is spirit, Mother Earth is matter. We are made of matter. This is a body that we inhabit. To embody this body of ours, we must get that we matter. That this body takes up space on this planet. That you have the right to take up space on this planet. That you deserve to have needs and desires. That you don't only have to be of service, that you don't only have to be giving all of the time, that you need to receive. And that's where we connect in with the Great Mother energy. The Great Mother energy that can provide for us, that is abundant with all the plants and the animals and the whole ecosystem that's out there on Mother Earth. It is abundant, and it is our birthright to receive, to have our needs met. When you can feel the abundance that Mother Earth is offering you, that the Great Mother is giving you, and open yourself to receive, now we have an energy flow. Now the energy's moving, and now we can give from a place of overflow, not from drain, not from overwhelm, and not from burnout, and not from exhaustion, but we're filling our cups and we're able to give. We're filling our cups and we're able to give, giving and receiving. And we are able to tap into the Shakti life force that is within our bodies. We're able to tap into the Great Mother energy, that cosmic energy, the life force that actually weaves all of us together, that is within all of us. This is the healing. So when I can get that the Shakti life force is within me, it's within you. Actually, the goddess, the Great Mother, she's with all of us. Her heart is within all of us. Now, sacred sister, you are a mirror of me. The goddess is within me, and I am sacred. This body that I inhabit is sacred, and so is yours. And so are we. We are sisters. So now can you see from the last time we were speaking about what if we saw every single woman on this planet as a sister? Now we can see that by coming home, by remothering ourselves, by getting that our needs are sacred, our bodies are sacred, our pleasure is sacred, our desires are sacred. I matter, and so do you. You no longer need to sacrifice yourself. You don't need to sacrifice yourself. You don't need to give up your dreams, your desires. You don't need to give up your pleasure. This is where boundaries come in. So needs and desires go hand in hand with boundaries. But if you were raised, or the conditioning of your lineage is that you belong to your husband, where's your boundary? If you don't have authority or sovereignty because you are owned by your husband, where's your boundaries? You aren't owned by anyone now, but this belief system has been passed down. And now, with Roe v. Wade being overturned, that is being spotlighted. It's being just put right there for us to look at, where we do not own our own sovereignty and we have not claimed our inner authority. Because we're still holding on to that old belief that we don't matter, that our needs and desires don't matter, and that our body isn't ours. When women reclaim their bodies as sacred, that starts to shift. All of that out there disappears because the external is just a reflection of the internal. And what I'm talking about is the external, as in the world and the patriarchy, is a reflection of the collective internal. So the more that we do the work, this is like the really important piece here. Because you're listening to this and you are a light worker and you're someone who is already aware and awake, when you come into your sovereignty because you see that your body is sacred, how you show up becomes an example for other women. If we don't have any examples, then we don't know any better, right? But once we start to see the example, that then starts to ripple out. When we come to circle and we teach this to other women, then they bring it out into their communities. This is how it works. You are a pebble that drops into the water, and the ripples go out from there. You matter. When you really get that you matter, and you start to do the work, and then you step into your leadership, and you start to show other women the way, that ripples out. That changes the world. Circle will change the world. And this is why Jean Shinoda Boland said, the opposite of patriarchy isn't matriarchy, it's circle. When we hit 1 million circles, that's when we will shift the collective consciousness. That's when we start to see the external shift as a reflection of the internal shift. Boundaries. A boundary is not a barrier. A boundary is healthy and loving, and it doesn't actually hinder the connection. I can set a boundary and still remain connected to you. Now, what we learned about boundaries is that either you don't have them, and so it's just this fluid, anything goes, and it's just I and you or me, we're merged. So now I'm selfless. Or we were taught a boundary is a barrier, which means I put up a wall and I have to put a hard no. So usually what we were taught by mom is to go back and forth between the two, versus a loving, healthy, connected boundary is I am sovereign over here, you're sovereign over there, and we can still be in conversation and we can still be in interaction, and both of our needs are actually getting met. But this comes from like a sovereignty. So let me just use the example of my kids for a second with setting loving, healthy boundaries. And this is what's going to happen with people out there in the world. And this is why this might feel really, really challenging. I'm on a call. My door is closed. My child knocks. I don't answer. She then starts banging. I then get up and answer the door. I have to set a boundary right there, right? And so I can lovingly say to her, I'm on my call. I will come get you when I'm done. When mommy's door is closed, you can knock, but if I don't answer you, then that means I'm not available. If you can count to 5 after you knock, if I don't come to the door to answer you, that means you need to go away and that I will come get you when I'm done. What is she going to do? She's going to test that boundary. She's going to come back and see what I'm going to do. So now I have to hold the boundary. And I can say, I hear you. I will be out when I'm done with my call. Can you please go find something to do? She's probably going to come back, right? So I have to keep holding that boundary. And it might feel very challenging for me to not get triggered by it. But I know that she's just trying to test and see where the boundary is. She's trying to navigate the boundary. So this might actually happen with your own mother. If your mother has been acting a certain way all your life and you start to do the work and you're going to set that loving, healthy boundary, it's a conversation and it's like, Mom, I'm not going to let you talk to me this way anymore. If you put me down and you say that I need to go get a job, again, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you lovingly, Mom, I'm not open to this conversation. If it continues, I'm going to hang up the phone. That's the boundary. Next time she does it, you hang up the phone. She's going to do it again. You hang up the phone. You keep setting the boundary. And you keep telling her, I love you. I love you. I am not okay with you speaking to me this way. I love you. I'm not okay with you speaking to me this way. It might take 10 times before the child says, all right, so there's my boundary. I got it. Okay, that's where I can go. Mom might take 10 times before she gets, oh, wow, this is serious. And she might throw a tantrum. She might get upset. She might call you names. It's what the child might do too, right? Because we didn't learn how to set healthy boundaries. Because we didn't learn that our needs and desires mattered. And so what did we do when we weren't getting our way? We would throw a tantrum. Your job is self-soothing, to not get triggered and to hold this within yourself. And then to get the support, to have someone who can help you help you regulate, right? So this might be a sister, this might be your husband, this might be a friend, whoever who you can go to, and maybe you need to cry and release. Maybe you need to just be held, right? So that you can self-soothe versus reacting and creating the barrier from connection. These are things that we have to learn. Again, this is the remothering of ourselves. Remothering ourselves to get that our needs and desires matter, and how to set healthy, loving boundaries so that we can be in our sovereignty. This may be very triggering and bring up a lot for you. I would love for you to leave a comment and tell me, what did you learn from your mother? What ahas and insights did you get from this today? What's your relationship with your needs and desires? If anything, just write a comment that says, I matter. And that way we can beam you and celebrate you, sister. You just listened to this show. I'd love for you to leave the Brave Woman podcast an honest review. Reviews help podcasts like this one grow, making it more possible for me to devote my time, energy, and money to its production.
If you take a screenshot of your review and email it to support@sistershipcircle.com, we'll send you one of our archetype activations as a thank you gift. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
Up next, do you feel like you're hiding and ready to step out of the spiritual closet, maybe even in a bigger way? But you are afraid of being cast out, ostracized, and metaphorically burned at the stake? In the next episode, we're going to talk about how the witch wound affects all women from speaking their truth and claiming their spiritual gifts, even if you don't identify with being a witch.